On the afternoon of April 1st, 1988, 8-year-old April Marie Tinsley left her elementary school in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It was a normal Friday. Classes were over. Spring was in the air, and April did what she had done countless times before. She walked home, but April never made it. What followed would become one of the most disturbing child abduction cases in Indiana history, a case that stayed cold for 3 decades, while a killer lived freely among the people who feared him. This is the story of April Tinsley. April Tinsley was born on May 12, 1979. She lived with her parents, Steve and Janet Tinsley, in Fort Wayne. By all accounts, she was cheerful, curious, and trusting, the kind of child who believed the world was mostly good. On April 1st, 1988, April attended Hoagland Elementary School. When school let out, she started the short walk home. But somewhere along that route, someone was watching. A witness later reported seeing a man speaking with a young girl near a playground close to South Anthony Boulevard. Then silence. April didn't come home. As the minutes turned into hours, her parents knew something was wrong. They called the police. By nightfall, Fort Wayne was on edge. The Fort Wayne Police Department launched an immediate search. Officers canvassed neighborhoods. Helicopters swept overhead. Volunteers knocked on doors. But there was no sign of April. No witnesses. No clear suspect. No ransom call. Just a missing child. Then, 4 days later, on April 5th, 1988, a jogger made a horrifying discovery. April's body was found in a wooded area near the intersection of South Hoagland Road and Paulding Road, about 20 miles from where she disappeared. She had been sexually assaulted and murdered. The city was devastated, but the worst was yet to come. Shortly after April's murder, something deeply disturbing began happening. Handwritten notes started appearing. They were left in mailboxes, on doors, near schools. The messages were explicit, threatening, and signed by the killer himself. In one note, the writer claimed responsibility for April's murder and threatened to kill again. He described the crime in chilling detail, details only the killer would know. Parents panicked. Schools went into lockdown procedures long before that term was common. Children were no longer allowed to walk alone. Fort Wayne changed overnight. The killer wasn't hiding. He was taunting. Police worked the case relentlessly. Thousands of tips poured in. Hundreds of suspects were interviewed. Handwriting analysts studied the notes. But DNA technology in 1988 was limited. Investigators collected biological evidence from April's clothing, hoping one day science would catch up. Years passed, then decades. The killer aged. The notes stopped, but fear never fully left Fort Wayne. Parents who had grown up during the investigation now had children of their own, and they still remembered April's name. Her family never stopped waiting. By the early 2000s, DNA testing had advanced significantly. The Fort Wayne Police Department preserved the evidence. And in 2015, investigators took a critical step. They sent the DNA profile to a public genealogy database. This wasn't a direct match. Instead, it identified distant relatives of the killer. Detectives began building a family tree, slowly narrowing it down. After months of work, one name rose to the top. John D. Miller, a factory worker, a married man, a father, a man who had lived quietly in Fort Wayne, less than 3 miles from where April was abducted. In July 2018, police followed John D. Miller to a bar. They watched him drink from a glass. After he left, officers retrieved the glass. The DNA matched perfectly. On July 15, 2018, 30 years after April's murder, John D. Miller was arrested. He was 59 years old. When confronted, Miller confessed. He admitted to abducting April, to assaulting her, to killing her. He also admitted to writing the threatening notes that terrorized Fort Wayne for years. The monster had been hiding in plain sight. In 2019, John D. Miller pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 80 years in prison. April's parents finally stood in a courtroom, not to ask where their daughter was, but to hear accountability spoken out loud. Janet Tinsley said the pain never goes away. But justice mattered, not just for April, but for every child who had lived in fear because of that man. April Tinsley's case became one of the most important examples of genetic genealogy solving cold cases. Her story helped change how law enforcement approaches unsolved crimes. Because of April, other victims got their names back. Other families got answers. Her life mattered, and her name will not be forgotten. April Tinsley was 8 years old. She should have grown up, gone to college, had a family. Instead, she became a symbol of loss, of patience, and of justice that refuses to die. This has been Truth Trove Stories. If you believe cold cases deserve answers, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share April's story. Because time does not erase guilt, and some truths wait decades to be heard.